Alright guys, I'm going to do a quick video on each one of these segments that need to be repaired at the Mead site. I figure this is good for a couple different reasons. Number one, this is going to be kind of piecemealed out due to the schedule and the limited working hours there. We only have until they kick us out today, and then somebody else is going to be coming back and finishing so I'm going to do them in separate parts, but I also thought it might be good for training, especially when it comes to grounding principles. That's one of the things that we see the most deficiencies in, and not just within our own company, but with inspections, and you'll see there's a big bunch of them here that need to be taken care of. But a lot of people just don't understand your correct grounding principles. But I'm going to jump on in and get just this part here. So the entry panel needs grounded. What we typically do, this is a metal panel that this goes through. That is part of AT&T's grounding specifications, is that this metal panel be connected to the ground ring. What we typically do is try to get, and it's a little tricky, you got to get that lug at just the right place up here where you're high enough up that you're gonna miss the concrete behind here. These screws are screwed into the prefab concrete wall, but if you go just a little bit further, and it usually means tucking it up in between here, and it usually means about a 3/8 inch hole there and there, where you can tuck it up and get nuts on the backside, or probably even better yet, head of bolts on the backside, and then get that lug laying against there. Now, another thing, and something that we see over and over, and it doesn't matter if it's this entry panel, or if it's on the tower, or if it's this ground bar, but good, clean metal between the lug, and no-ox between the lug. That's a big problem with grounding, as there's so many people will not remove the coating and get down to bare metal. We don't want a big blop of bare metal either, to where it's going to be rusting, but where that lug is going to set, it usually works real good to get a sharp pencil, put that lug up there, trace around it, and then just remove that section right there. A little Dremel works awesome for that, but I know I'm getting off. This is probably not things you guys have on site, but you guys that are going to continue on there, you may want to do that. Get a little Dremel from Home Depot with just the right bit, and it works awesome for taking the coating off before putting those lugs on. Yeah, I think I got sidetracked there. Yeah, what I was going to say is two things with that. One is removing the coating between that lug and the surface that it's going on, and the other is placing no-ox between it. No-ox, what it will help do is reduce oxidization caused by dissimilar metals. Anytime you get two different metals, one against another, and you'll see that down here where the tinned lug was against the copper, you'll see a lot of oxidization down here. That comes from dissimilar metals. That no-ox will help prevent that. Still, you're going to come back in 15 years and find it, but it will definitely slow it down if we can get that. And no-ox, another thing you'll see, either we get somebody that wants to put one little dab on the lug and call it good, or we got it running down. If you do it right, you can get it to where it squishes out a little bit, but yet it's not running down the side of the shelter. You want to shake that no-ox up good. It'll come out all runny if you haven't kneaded it or shook it up good first. And if we have them, it's nice to use dragon tooth washers anytime that we're putting a lug to metal. Now, if we're doing a Verizon site, that is a must. It is part of Verizon's grounding and bonding specifications to have that dragon tooth washer between the lug and a metal. AT&T, it's not part of their specifications. We don't really have to do it. If you don't have them, just get it done, and just make sure you got a good clean service with no-ox. If you got them, we like to do it, if for no other reason, just to keep consistency within the company, and we just kind of have a standard no matter who we're working for. If we're putting a lug against metal, whether it be a grip strut or this entry panel, or now ground bars don't count, not on ground bars. So there you want the lug directly against the ground bar. But any other metal flat surface, we usually try to put dragon tooth washers in there. Okay, then we're going to come down with a number 2 solid all the way down to the ground ring and tie into the ground ring. The best is to go direct to the ground ring whenever possible. You guys that have been doing Nexius installs, we decided early on the Nexius installs, because there's no money in these installs and they were wanting to cut corners in every way they possibly could. We do not like doing that. But we didn't have a choice if we were going to keep doing these and make any money at all. So we decided early on those. We were just tying on and piggybacking on to a lead if we had to, whatever it took to get post and H-frames and things grounded. But typically what we're wanting to do is dig down, find the original ground ring. But that's not always possible. Sometimes, a lot of times, these ground rings were never installed correctly to begin with. So instead of a ring around the perimeter of the shelter within 2 to 3 foot like it should be, it ends up, a lead coming from God knows where. And sometimes you just have to do what you have to do and piggyback on and at least get tied into the earth ground system in some way. So there'll be a number 2 lead coming down the side. Typically that is anchored into the prefab concrete shelter with a 2-hole plastic PVC conduit clamp in 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch seal tight, and then anchored into the concrete with tap cons. There is other ways of doing it, but that's usually what we do. The plastic is important though, because we don't want metal clamps choking that ground lead coming down. It's important that it is PVC and not metal coming down the side of the shelter.